The story of four Gryffindor friends that we wish we heard more of. We learned almost nothing about the Marauders in the films, where they left out many important things and backstories. So in this video, I'll be explaining the story of the Marauders. I'll go back in time and focus more on the Hogwarts years and things that we didn't get to know from the film. The four friends were born in a different situation and family. Sirius Black was born in House of Black, a pure-blood wizarding family. Sirius hated his family and rejected their values, leading to conflict with them. James Potter had been conceived so late in his parents' lives. He was raised in an adoring household with little material limits and pampered a great deal. That's why he grew to be proud, arrogant, and boastful, but deep down still a good man. Remus Lupin was attacked by a werewolf at the age of 5, becoming infected with lycanthropy. Fortunately, his parents Lyle and Hope took care of him and tried to make him a normal boy again, but they found no cure. Nothing is pretty much known about Peter Pettigrew's childhood, except that his mother was a witch. The Hogwarts letters arrived to the four friends. Due to Remus' condition, Albus Dumbledore allowed Remus to attend Hogwarts, while having Remus to be brought to the Shrieking Shack once a month for his transformation. Sirius and James met in the Hogwarts Express, where they shared a compartment with Lily and Snape, and they didn't exactly hit it off with Snape. The three of them revolved around a disagreement regarding what Hogwarts house was the best. Then they called him Snevolus, before storming out of the compartment laughing. During the sorting ceremony, James and Sirius took a shine to the quiet but clever Remus Lupin and a slow boy named Peter Pettigrew. Remus and James were straight put in Gryffindor. For Peter, the sorting hat wavered between Slytherin and Gryffindor before putting him in Gryffindor. And for Sirius, he was placed in Gryffindor, showing that his views had already diverged from those of the rest of the family before he came to school. The four were viewed as the rock stars of Hogwarts. James was a Quidditch hero, and Sirius was a good-looking rebel and proudly defiant of his family's Slytherin affiliations, adorning his bedroom walls with Gryffindor colors, along with pictures of motorbikes and muggle girls. Remus was the brains of the operation who tried and often failed to keep the rest of the group in check. As for Peter, his habit of attaching himself to strong personalities would play an important part in later events. Tragically, Remus carried an affliction, which his parents thought would prevent him from attending school. He kept his status as a werewolf a secret from all of the students at Hogwarts, including his fellow Marauders. He made up stories to explain his monthly disappearances, such as that his mother was ill and he needed to go home to visit her. He was terrified that they would leave him once they found out what he truly was. However, Sirius, James, and Peter worked out the truth during their second year, and due to their acceptance of who Remus was and their unusually strong friendship with him, they decided to learn how to become Animagi in order to keep Remus company during his transformations, as a werewolf is only a danger to humans. James' Animagus form was a stag, Bronx, Sirius was a black dog, Padfoot, and Peter was a fat rat, Wormtail. As Padfoot and Prongs were large enough to control Mooney during his monthly transformations into a werewolf, Wormtail was small enough to get past the Whomping Willow's defenses so the group could get to the Shrieking Shack. The Marauders were frequently out of their beds at night to explore Hogwarts grounds and the village of Hogsmeade during Lupin transformation. At some point, the four friends created the Marauders map, a small bewitched roll of parchment that displayed the castle grounds, an inhabitant of Hogwarts including all staff, ghosts, students, and all their favorite secret passages. For the majority of his time at school, James was somewhat an obnoxious youth with a love of showing off. This rebellious attitude was shaped by negative qualities he developed, such as hexing innocent students for no other reason than because he could. Sirius was very popular. Teachers respected his intelligence, though not his behavior, and girls adored his dark, handsome looks. His especially rebellious attitude made him ignore them. Peter was described by Professor McGonagall as a stupid and foolish boy. Though Hero worshipped Sirius and James, she also stated that Pettigrew was a less than average student. Remus on the other hand was a good student, but also a prankster. He would sometimes join Sirius and James in detention for mischief making. Remus was also a prefect while he was at Hogwarts. He claimed Albus Dumbledore had hoped he could exert control over them as a prefect. Sirius later told Harry that Remus wasn't an idiot like his friends because he was never cruel to other students, but Remus admitted that he regretted that he had never stepped in to stop it. But the gang weren't universally adored. They were particularly cruel to Severus. He would never forget how horribly he'd been treated. The Marauders has a strong rivalry throughout their time at Hogwarts. To Remus and Sirius, the reason the rivalry began was due to Snape's jealousy over James' talent at Quidditch and his popularity, as well as Snape's interest in the dark arts, which James despised. James spent much of his academic career chasing after Lily Evans, an attractive fellow Gryffindor from Snape's hometown, who was secretly Snape's best friend and childhood crush. She once asked James to stop jinxing Snape for fun. The foreman and his friends were in the middle of bullying Snape with a spell of Snape's own invention. Lily told him to stop, and James responded with, "I will, if you'll go out with me." When James took the jinx off, Snape in his humiliation and anger called Lily a filthy little mudblood. But Lily responded that James was as bad as Snape and she would not date him. At some point, Snape grew very interested in where Remus went every month and saw Madame Pomfrey and Remus go into the Shrieking Shack using a secret passage under the Whomping Willow. Sirius had, as a joke, told him the trick getting past the Whomping Willow. Snape followed Sirius' directions and was nearly at the Shrieking Shack when James pulled him back. James saved Severus from certain death at the claws of the Remus in werewolf form, but Snape refused to believe that his old rival would have done him a favor, believing that James had only saved him in order to avoid expulsion and despised being in his debt. At the age of 16, Sirius finally broke away from his pure-blood family and took refuge with James Potter and his parents. Clement and Euphemia Potter adopted Sirius as a son. His outraged mother blasted his name off the family tree, as was the tradition for those who didn't support the family's ideology. Sirius' uncle left him with a large inheritance in his will. That Sirius was left financially independent and eventually got a place of his own. James, on the other hand, kept chasing Lily Evans, and he matured somewhat to the point that he became head boy alongside Lily. James stopped bullying other students, which impressed Lily, and the two began dating at the time. After graduating at only 18 years old, James married Lily Evans, and Sirius became the godfather of their newborn son, Harry. James' parents at some point died, and he inherited the family fortune from them, which enabled him to comfortably support his family without the need for a paying job. James also used his wealth to support Remus, who was unemployed due to his status as a werewolf. The Marauders, along with Lily, joined Dumbledore's group, the Order of Phoenix, in the fight against Lord Voldemort and his Death Eaters. But things didn't go well. James and Lily were murdered in their house by Voldemort after their friend Peter betrayed him. The guy faked his own death and ran away as a rat, leading the third Marauder to be captured and sent to Azkaban for the next 12 years for something he didn't do. The fourth Marauder, Remus, was heartbroken at the loss of his friends and found himself alone once more. 12 years later, the four Marauders reunited again, one night at the Shrieking Shack. Sirius has escaped from Azkaban after spotting Scabbers in a Daily Prophet. Remus had been made Professor Lupin and was teaching defense against the dark arts. Peter was hiding as Ron's pet Scabbers. Harry's friends, the Marauders, and even Severus Snape all wound up at the Shrieking Shack, where the truth finally emerged. James' presence was also felt in the form of his son's Patronus. But once again, Peter faked his own death, costing Sirius his freedom once again. Remus resigned and left Hogwarts. Peter escaped and returned to his master, and Sirius went on the run with Buckbeak. Sirius died 2 years later battling Death Eaters with his beloved godson's side. Peter was strangled to death by his silver hand, a gift from Lord Voldemort, the moment he showed mercy to Harry. Remus, the last Marauder standing, was killed at the Battle of Hogwarts along with his wife Nephedora Tonks. The couple left a son, Teddy Remus Lupin, to whom Harry had agreed to be godfather. We last saw the Marauders together, minus Peter, but joined by Lily, in the Forbidden Forest. Reunited by the Resurrection Stone, the Marauders helped Harry find the courage he needed to make the ultimate sacrifice. Thanks to this, Voldemort was defeated, and peace was restored to the magical world. The Marauders were gone, but their legacy would live forever. That was it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed this one about the Marauders and Harry Potter. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope seeing you again in a new video.